Hey, this is Malika of Evanston Live TV, and I have with me, God, I always say an amazing guest. I think she's beyond amazing, beyond amazing. Her and her team, Nia Williams, they put together a protest this past weekend in such a short amount of time. Evanston Fight for Black Lives. I mean, it's estimated about 5,000 people. I mean, there are people who can't get 50 people together for a cause sometimes in Evanston. So 5,000, and they're young and they're operating just off of sheer belief and passion, and it was absolutely beautiful. Nia, thank you so much for your time today. I know everybody's pulling at you right now, trying to get all the organizers in an interview, and you all were very, very strict about nope, no media. You know, we are focused. We'll deal media later. You know, I respect that. That was great. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, yes. So where are you a student at? What school are you at?
I am currently a student at North Carolina A&T State University. It's
Oh,
an HBCU.
all right, all right. And what's your major there?
I am majoring in biological engineering.
Ooh,
So, yeah.
ooh. All right now. All right. But Nia, that was it was beautiful to witness that. And I have a question for you. I got a few questions for you actually. Um, to me, it seems like the George Floyd story has woken so many white community it's so many white people up, and I'm wondering, and maybe you can give me your perspective on it, or maybe I don't know if you agree with me or not. What is it about this particular story? Because we have seen, I mean, I'm a lot older than you. We have seen so many stories. I mean, men, women getting killed on video. We've seen them. And why all of a sudden are they waking up? It seems that way to me, to the George Floyd story. Have you noticed that, or?
Yeah, I have noticed that. I think a lot of people are hurting right now. I think that the pandemic had a lot to do with it. People were losing jobs. People are not being able to pay rent. People are hurting, and then you see a Black man get killed. Then that sets off sparks. That sets off um, fire. That sets off anger. And when that happens, then you see what we have across the nation. You see people getting real mad and showing their anger in different ways, whether that be peaceful or not. And honestly, I think it was bound to happen eventually. But I guess this was the time that it needed to happen. So we'll see how it goes as time progresses.
Yeah, if it's just a moment for them that they're feeling it, whereas for us, it's become a freaking a reality. I mean, it's been going on for so many years. Like Philando Castile, Eric Garner, we heard the audio of Trayvon Martin getting gunned down. I mean, these are things that we witnessed, and it just seemed like, I would say, most of white America didn't care. It didn't really faze them. They were numb to it. But the George story, you know, sometimes I think people, their passing is makes them bigger than life. They just truly serve this purpose. When you all were organizing this, what were you expecting? Because there's been so many I want to call them uprisings. I don't even want to call them riots. There have been so many uprisings. Were you all expecting that here in Evanston, or what were your expectations?
We didn't have any expectations as to if there were going to be any uprisings, as you say. We simply wanted to create a space when Evanston was not creating space for people to be angry. Because we knew a lot of people that wanted to do something, that wanted to get out, that wanted to say something. And we were like, you know what, we got to do it. Liana literally hit me up like, I want to say Thursday, something about like at 10 a.m. was like, do you want to plan something? And of course, I'm ready to roll. I don't care. So I'm like, yeah, I'm down. Then we're on the phone at 4 o'clock, and by 8 o'clock, we're pushing out the flyer telling everybody to meet at this place. So really, we were just like, we are giving people the space, and we know that police are the people who incite violence most of the time. So we were like, if they incite violence, then we can't control what happens because people are angry. But thankfully, EPD didn't really incite any violence, and that's a privilege that we have to kind of talk about, because in Evanston, our police department kind of just backs away sometimes when it comes to these protests. But yeah, we weren't really expecting anything. We were just giving people space to be and grieve and be angry, and whatever it turned into, we were willing to reap the consequences.
That's interesting, because that has been a topic where there have been peaceful protests in certain communities, and just all hell breaks loose in other communities. Do you want to give your perspective on? I mean, I wasn't expecting any violence in Evanston at a protest. You know, I mean, I wasn't even expecting that many of us to come out, the Black community to come out, because I mean, that's Evanston. We just tend not to come out too much, and right now, it's such an attack on the Black community with COVID-19, and we've been dealing with racism and hatred forever. So what is your take on that? Why in certain communities, because that's a hot topic around the country right now, why in certain communities it's going to be peaceful, in other communities it's a risk. It's a risk if there's going to be trouble with the police.
I think, first of all, I think that Evanston has a reputation, and I think that Evanston will work very hard to uphold that reputation. We are seen as diverse, we're seen as progressive, and things like that. So when it comes to, so really the bottom line is, does Evanston want to be the town that is seen as retaliating against young folks trying to protest the killing of a Black man and a Black woman and another Black man and all the other things that we don't even talk about, you know? Mm-hmm. So I think that is one of the reasons why it was peaceful. But we have also been getting a lot of comments like this, like, Evanston does it the right way. We don't need the National Guard. Go Evanston for being so peaceful. But again, we released a statement on our Facebook event page that we stand in full solidarity with all the protests across the nation, and that the only reason why we were peaceful was because, again, the police department did not incite violence, did not antagonize the protesters. So I think that's the reason why in our community we were able to be more peaceful, or however people want to say it, versus maybe in other communities that do not have the privilege that we have of EPD not wanting to incite violence. Because in other communities, the police do want to incite violence, and they want it to turn into a riot, so then they can point the finger and say, look at these people, they don't want change, they just want violence. You know what I'm saying? So that's the difference between us and what's happening in other communities.
Oh yeah. There were some Evanston police officers. They were like, they don't really want us there. We just want to make sure they're safe. So that was their approach to it. They wanted to make sure nothing happened to you all, and they wanted to know if you all were going further north, because they knew if you went north, like towards Kenilworth, maybe there may have been a problem. Possibly. Had it been more of us, turning out. So it seemed like their approach was, we want to protect them. So we are privileged with that, with the EPD, and that they wanted to protect you all. Whereas other areas, yes, I agree. They want to make it look like we're violent animals, pretty much. Yes, I agree with that, most definitely. So what is next? What is next for you all? I mean, so you did this phenomenal awareness, this protest where so many people came out. I have never, like I was telling you before we got started, I've never seen that many people turn out for a cause, especially for a Black cause, you know, about the Black community in Evanston, ever. So what's next?
We have been talking about that. Everyone keeps asking us, what's next? What's next? I think for the immediate right now, we are making sure that we're taking care of ourselves, and making sure that the mental stays strong, because you can't lead a revolution if you aren't right? If you aren't grounded, if you aren't stable. So we are first and foremost trying to make sure that we're okay. We've been trying to figure out if we're gonna do any collaborations with maybe Chicago, and see if we can connect with some of the organizers out there. And we're just trying to see, because we know that no one has done it the way that we have done it in Evanston. We are aware of that, and we are trying to see how we can continue to push boundaries, continue to make demands, continue to make change in our community, and maybe, hopefully, around the nation. So we're still talking, we're still meeting. This is not one and done. The group chat has been blowing up ever since Wednesday. So we're just gonna keep going, and yeah.
Yes, I love that you said lead a revolution. Ooh, that fills up my spine. Because we need a revolution right now, most definitely. I mean, we've been needing one, and now that, like you said, everybody's in this fragile space where money is an issue because everybody's been on lockdown, this quarantine, people worried about their health. Everyone's mental state is a little fragile. It's a lot of anxiety. So yes, so now they're kind of locked into a room where they had to witness this man be murdered on video. And how can you not feel something? So now, yes, this would definitely be the time for that revolution, most definitely. What are your thoughts on Trump? I believe, I'm not speaking for everybody, I believe he's trying to turn this into a military state. And I feel like it's an attack on Black and brown people. What are your thoughts on that?
I think we are already a military state, depending on who you ask. I think when it comes to Black and brown folks, we have already been living in a military state. We are already being watched, surveillance, all of that. So really, it's a matter of what are we going to do about it, you know? And I think you see people right now telling you what they're going to do about it. You see people in the streets telling you what they're going to do about it. They're trying to find new community, create new spaces that are safe, that are for everybody, or specifically for Black folks, specifically for Indigenous folks, specifically for brown folks, etc. So when it comes to him saying that something that's probably stupid coming out of his mouth, then it's nothing new to people who have been known. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe other people are like, military in our communities, but really, what is the police? They're military too. They've been in our communities for a very long time. So really, it's a matter of what are we going to do about it? And that's for everything. What are we going to do? Not talk, not sit, not be patient. What are we going to actively do about it? And whose side are you on? at the end of the day.
Mm, mm. And how do you tell who's on what side these days? Racism is it's so tricky now. It's Pastor Neighbor says it's so pernicious. It's so subversive and hidden. And then it comes out and just seriously bites you. So what does it look like? What does a revolution look like in 2020, 2021?
I think it looks like more white folks willing to put their body on the line. When it comes to my circle, I know that the white folks that I hang around, they are very intentional in the ways that they use their body. That when we were planning the protests, we made sure that we had white folks that were willing to, if need be the front line in case the police got out of hand, to form a perimeter around the people of color that we know would be impacted the most. So it's really up to the people who have the most privilege and power at this point, because everyone else has been down. Everyone else is ready. It's really about who is going to put their body on the line. So that's what that looks like.
Interesting. I've always felt if more white people stepped up to the plate and reported things, that tends to, especially in the workplace, that tends to make a difference. The Amy Coopers, the Central Park Karen, oh Lord, I have dealt with so many of them. I can't even tell you how many of us have been written up and terminated, and oh my Lord, because of Amy Cooper. And it's always a white person in office that knew the truth, but was afraid to risk their livelihood for what was right. And yeah.
And even like literally, like when I first heard about George Floyd, I was angry. I was mad. I wasn't talking to nobody. I was just silent. And then one of my white friends hit me up and was like, "Are you okay, Nia?" You know? And I was like, honestly, I'm not okay until a white person stops the bullet, until someone stands in front of that police officer. Are you really about it? You know what I'm saying? And we won't see change until people are really about it, until white people are literally pulling cops off of Black and brown bodies. Because until then it won't stop.
Ooh, I would love to see that day. So you're thinking more, it's probably more of your generation it would be willing to do that. That's the new revolution, huh? All right now. Okay. Well, Nia, I know you have to get going. I said I was going to keep you for 15 minutes, but it's hard. There's so much to talk about in regards to this, so much, so much pain and rage in us. And I don't even think rage is a word for it anymore. It's just, I was telling Pastor Neighbors, I don't think there's a word in the dictionary to describe what Black people feel. I really don't. And that's why people really can't relate to it. They can't relate to it. Well, how are you mentally after all of what happened this past weekend, all the millions of stories we're hearing about, have heard about? So many are resurfacing, new stories coming forward now, new videos. How do you take care of yourself during this time? Because I don't think Black people, we just tend to keep going. That's how strong we are. We just keep going. And I don't think we ever really take time to deal with what we go through. I mean, we deal with murders and arrests and just things, just injustice. But we just have to keep going. How do you deal with it? To stay mentally together, physically together?
Well, I just remind myself that I am here and that I am breathing. I've recently taken up gardening because I've been stuck in the house. So that's been cool. My tomatoes are growing. So as long as they're growing, then I'm good. And I hug my mom all the time. And I hug myself. I might take up yoga if the joints are feeling good that day. But I just remind myself that I'm here. And as long as I'm here, then I can keep fighting.
Keep fighting, keep fighting. I think that's our spirit. We just keep fighting, we keep going. Well, thank you so much, Nia, for your spirit, your heart, your passion, your fight, you and all the organizers for this. And just thank you. Thank you for your vision.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Okay, you all, this is Malika of Evanston Live TV. That was Nia Williams. Wow, what a strong young woman. She's a woman. She's like out of high school. She ain't a young woman. She's a woman now. So she is doing her thing. And gosh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see that and to hear her talk about a revolution and how she sees the revolution. That speaks volumes. That means a lot. That means a lot to me. That gives me hope. It really does give me hope. So you all, please stay tuned. I mean, there's so much going on. Please stay engaged with the news. We got a nut leading this country, but you got to pay attention to what he's saying because he is calling shots that's just insane. So you got to know what's going on just in case you step outside your house and didn't know you weren't supposed to step outside the house. So just please be careful, be aware, be conscious, be constantly aware of what's going on around you. Be careful, people, and everybody that's been involved in this fight with us, thank you, thank you. And like Nia said, I do think it's going to take for white America to step up and step in front of that bullet and step up, most definitely. Thank you all so much, and thank you for supporting Evanston Live TV.